Welcome to Weekly World News on SpringNectar TV, brought to you by Vibha Ramesh, Los Angeles, United States. First, the top headlines. Protest over shooting in Minneapolis. Strategy to address opioid overdose. Legendary playback singer Lata Mangeshkar passed away. Modi on post-COVID India. The world mourns the death of Moroccan boy. Russia promises not to worsen the situation in Ukraine. Truckers' demonstrations may lead to economic damage. Moving on to news in detail. Minneapolis downtown was the stage for protesters in the hundreds who took to the streets on Saturday. The protests were in relation to the gunning down of Amir Locke by the police. The black man in his 20s was fatally shot down by the police following a no-knock raid on the apartment. News has it that although Locke was not named in the warrant, he was shot dead. The incident has left Amir's parents shell-shocked and the nation in rage. Protesters were heard shouting slogans, "No justice, no peace," on Saturday as they rallied the government plaza. His mother, Karen Wells, has appealed to end the system of no-knock warrant as that's what took away the life of her son. In his parents' words, the no-knock warrant is what caused Amir's death. The whole system. He wasn't killed. He wasn't murdered. He was executed, they said. Demonstrations led by 500 people echoed their sentiments in sub-zero temperatures as they demanded the prohibition of no-knock warrants. Meanwhile, a congressional commission gathered evidence that revealed that substance abuse by Americans had hit hazardous levels. The report also suggested the need for the nation as a whole to develop a strategy to address the epidemic. According to the report submitted by the Commission on Combating Synthetic Opioid Trafficking, close to 1 million Americans have succumbed to fatal drug overdose since 1999. Unfortunately, the COVID pandemic has only fostered the habit, leading to nearly 100,000 deaths in 2021 alone. And on Wednesday, the committee investigating the Capitol attack subpoenaed Peter Navarro. He is believed to hold critical information about the Jan 6 attack that could throw more light on the investigation. According to the chairman of the Select Committee, Benny Thompson, Navarro appears to have information directly relevant to the Select Committee's investigation. He hasn't been shy about his role in efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 election and has even discussed the former president's support for those plans. Over to India. Iconic playback singer Lata Mangeshkar passed away on February 6 at the age of 92. Popularly called the Nightingale of Bollywood, her career spanned over 7 decades, during which time she had rendered over 30,000 film songs in multiple languages. She was one of the few women that was conferred the prestigious Bharat Ratna Award. News has it that she died of complications from COVID-19. The country had declared a 2-day national mourning in her honor. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Modi announced on Monday that the world after the pandemic is a new order and that the nation should explore its potential for a global leadership role. He said the world is moving very fast towards new world order, new systems following the COVID pandemic. India should not miss this opportunity. And on the COVID vaccination drive, Indradhanush 4.0 was launched by the Union Minister with the intent of intensifying the drive that will ensure global availability of COVID vaccines. To that end, Mansukh Mandavia remarked that the Prime Minister visioned the Indradhanush for a universal vaccination which is accessible and received justifiably by all. Moving on. The tragic demise of a 5-year-old boy has moved the entire world. According to sources, Ryan Oram from Morocco accidentally fell into a well and was holding on to hope in the rescuers and faith in Allah until he gave up 4 days later. The well was 100 feet deep and extremely narrow for rescuers to get in. They tried their best to save the little boy, but in vain. The country and the world plunged into sorrow as news of his death echoed in TV and social media. Commenting on the tragic incident, the Prime Minister of Morocco remarked, "I learned with great sadness and sorrow the news of the death after days of suffering and the hope of finding him alive. I present on behalf of all members of the government and on my behalf my most sincere condolences and my sympathy and compassion to the parents of the child, Ryan. Later, condolence messages from leaders from around the world poured in. And in Ukraine, former defense minister had expressed his views on the status of Ukraine, as he said that Russia had amassed enough troops in Kyiv to denote its capability to invade Kyiv or any other city, but not enough to take over the entire country. In his words, as said to The Guardian, Russia could now seize any city in Ukraine, but we still don't see the 200,000 troops needed for a full-scale invasion. Meanwhile, Jake Sullivan, the U.S. National Security Advisor, announced that an invasion could happen at any time, and discussions between the prime ministers of France and Russia did not provide any breakthrough. Following the 5-hour negotiations on Monday, Emmanuel Macron said that right now the tension is increasing and the risk of destabilization is increasing. Neither Russia nor the Europeans want chaos or instability when nations have already suffered from the epidemic. So we need to agree on concrete measures. However, on Tuesday, he claimed that Russian President Putin confirmed that they would not resort to worsening the situation over Ukraine. Nevertheless, Ukraine's president was skeptical about the sudden twist in the direction of peace, as he stated, "I do not really trust words. I believe that every politician can be transparent by taking concrete steps. Openness was great so long as it was not a game," he said. And news as of Thursday has it that Russia and Belarus have commenced joint military drills that will go on for 10 days. Over to Kashmir, the founder-editor of a popular news site was arrested on Friday on charges of terrorism and sedition. To this end, Fahad Shah of the Kashmir Wala was taken into custody in Pulwama. His arrest was made on the basis of an FIR that indicated that Shah's website spread fake news and lauded terrorism. According to Inspector General Vijay Kumar, Shah has been arrested on the basis of one of the 3 FIRs lodged against him for frequently glorifying terrorism, spreading fake news, and instigating people for the past 3 to 4 years. News has it that Shah will be placed in a 10-day custody with the police and, if convicted, will be imprisoned for life. Commenting on Shah's arrest, his lawyer Umair Ronga tweeted that he is a decorated journalist and a firm believer of the majesty of the law. His arrest is unwarranted. Meanwhile, in Hong Kong, Wednesday marked the 3rd consecutive day with record-high new infections of 1,161. This number is known to be double of what was recorded on Tuesday. This alarming surge in infections has prompted the country to tighten its restrictions. To this end, the government has imposed more stringent restrictions, including mandatory vaccine pass for entry into malls, salons, and department stores, a limit on public gathering to 2 people only, among others. The restrictions went into effect on Thursday, much to the chagrin of the public. In the words of Chief Executive Carrie Lam, "We're now facing the most dire situation. We have seen a surge in the number of confirmed cases, and some are worried the real number would be beyond thousands each day." He also apologized to the people for having to wait in long lines to enter isolation facilities or get tested. Moving on to Canada, truckers that started the rally last week protesting against the vaccine pass mandate have turned a deaf ear to the government's call to end the demonstrations. The situation has escalated beyond control as the police call it a siege on the city, even as a class action suit has been filed against the protesters. That said, the deadline mentioned in the suit went unnoticed as protesters continued to honk and disrupt traffic. And on Wednesday, yet another impact of the mandate came to light as blockade on the US-Canada bridge was feared to lead to immense economic damage. Governments of both the countries agreed that disruption of the automotive industry and agricultural exports would lead to multi-million-dollar losses. Commenting on the situation, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki remarked that "I think it's more important for everyone in Canada and the United States to understand what the potential impact of this blockage is on workers, on the supply chain." That brings us to this week's Did You Know? Did did you know that the Twitter bird has a name? The name is Larry. Why Larry? Apparently, Biz Stone, co-founder of Twitter, named it as a tribute to NBA player Larry Bird. Larry Bird played for the Boston Celtics, Stone's home state team. That he had named the Twitter bird after Larry was revealed in 2011. With that, we come to this week's World Report. I'll see you again next Friday with more world news on Spring Nectar TV. Thank you for watching. Stay safe.